So lovely to be here with everybody today. Just gonna put the camera up 2 seconds. So I'm going to invite you to bring yourself. You can either lie or sit, however you would like to start this class today. Just get yourself in a comfortable position. If you feel you'd like to maybe lean against something, sit upon something, if you feel you need to cover yourself up or sit on a chair, do whatever feels comfortable for you. And then just arrange the way that you've placed your hands in a comforting way and the way that you've chosen to place your legs also in a comforting way. If it's appropriate for you, you might want to close your eyes or you might choose to keep your eyes open. But just giving ourselves just a moment or two just to let ourselves arrive into this space. Whether you're in the studio, whether you're practicing at home, whatever you may have come from, just acknowledging that that is now in the past. And what may be coming in the future. Right now, we can't do anything about. But allowing ourselves to have this opportunity to be present in this moment. I'd like you to just take some time just to become aware of the surfaces that you are resting upon. So what the surface feels like beneath you. And the sensation of touch or connection, where maybe your hands or your arms might be resting upon you. Maybe that sensation of touch where clothing might be meeting your skin. The sensation of the room around you. And maybe noticing if the air around you feels warm or cold. If it feels still or there's some movement in the air. Allowing ourselves to acknowledge this time that we have. This next 70 minutes or so of time is dedicated to us. I'd like you to just acknowledge the body that you've arrived in today. How that body may feel. If there's any information that you might need to know about your body today that might affect the practice that you're about to do. And turning your attention to your breath. Just noting how the breath is in this moment. Acknowledging how we feel energetically this morning. Acknowledging how the functioning of our mind is. Noting any mood or emotional states that might be useful for you to be aware of. Then taking some time to appreciate why you've come to this practice today. What your intentions or reasons may be behind this practice. Allowing ourselves to also acknowledge the possibilities, the things that we don't know that may arise from this practice. Those moments of clarity, those times when those reminders or memories might be present in our awareness. Those little shifts in our mood or our energy. Being open to whatever this practice may offer to you today. And then when you feel ready, I'd invite you to begin to allow your breath to just gently start to deepen. And as your breath begins to deepen, taking a full and deep breath into the lungs and a long and gentle breath out, maybe even with a sigh, a release or a yawn. Repeat that a couple more times. So a big breath in and a long and gentle breath out. Just one more time. Big breath in and a long, gentle breath out. And then what I'd invite you to do is think about coming onto your back where we're going to start our practice this morning. So I'd like you to lie on your back and have your knees bent and your feet upon the floor. So we're in this position which is called semi-supine. So I want you to just take a few moments just to maybe just have a little move around your pelvis, keeping the feet on the floor, but you might just want to sort of gently massage that tailbone and lower back into the floor, just by maybe rocking up and down along that base of the spine a few times, or maybe doing a few little circles around on that tailbone area, just to kind of let the lower back just kind of find a natural state for itself. And then do the same with the shoulders. So just have a little sort of move of the shoulders, almost as though you're sort of gently massaging those shoulders down into the earth, pushing those shoulder blades and the upper part of the back just gently into the earth, maybe with a couple of little circles or just kind of wiggles and releases. And then I want you to just turn your head and look over towards one shoulder. It doesn't matter how far your head rolls. And then coming back to the center and then rolling off to the other way. And then gently rolling back up to the center again. And then what I'd like you to do from here is bend your knees and reach down and hold on to the front of your shins, or if it feels more comfortable, bring the fingertips between the backs of the thighs and your calves. Draw your chin slightly down so the back of your neck feels just a little bit longer. And we're just going to begin to move our arms in time with our breath. And by moving our arms, it's going to move our legs. So what I'd like you to do is straighten your arms. And as you start to straighten your arms, take an inhalation. And then bend your elbows and squeeze the thighs in towards the body as you exhale. So as you inhale, you're letting the legs just float away by straightening the arms. And as you exhale, you're bending the elbows and squeezing those thighs in towards the abdomen. So we're going to do this a few times. And then we're going to start to incorporate the movement of the head, okay? So as we exhale, you're going to turn the head off in one direction as you squeeze the thighs in. As you inhale, bring the head back up to the center. And then as you exhale, squeezing those thighs in, turn the head in the opposite way. So we're kind of working in two different dimensions. This rolling of the head from side to side and the squeezing of the thighs in towards the abdomen. Now it might be that your breath and your body just kind of starts to make up its own little pattern with this, and that's okay. Just kind of let yourself just continue with that idea, that suggestion, but just making it your own version of what I've described. So once you've done an equal amount of head rolls from side to side, we're going to bring the feet back onto the floor. And then I'd like you to just slip your legs away from you. So you're going to straighten your legs. And then what I'd like you to do is reach your hands up towards the ceiling. So your hands are roughly in line with your shoulders still. And then as we inhale, we're going to reach our fingertips higher. So you're going to lift the sides of your shoulders off the floor. And as you exhale, you're going to gently push your shoulders back in towards the earth. So as we inhale, we're going to lift and reach as though there's something just beyond your fingertips. And then as you exhale, just soften and push the shoulders down. So we inhale as we reach. And as we exhale and push those shoulders down, the hands might go a little bit wider as well. So just a couple more times. So we're working into that shoulder girdle and upper part of the back. Fantastic. Take an interlace of your hands now. Lift your head up. Slide your hands around the back of your head. So you're holding the back of your head with the cup to your hands. Just letting your thumbs maybe just be either sides of your neck. And then what I'd like you to do is bring your right leg and you're going to place your right foot or bend your right knee. You're going to place your right foot on the floor to begin. And then we're going to place our right foot upon our left thigh. And then all we're going to do is let our right knee drop out towards the right-hand side. And then exhale, bring it back to the center. And then inhale, take it over towards the other side. So you might lean a little bit into your left side. And then exhale, come back to the center. So we inhale, let that right knee float out to the right side. Exhale, back to the center. Inhale, floating over towards the left side, maybe rolling onto that left hip a little bit. Exhale, back to the center. So just going to repeat that a couple more times. Just moving through that lower back in a slightly different way to maybe ways that we would normally move it. Just exploring how that feels, that mobility, that crossing of the hip across the body. And then we're going to come back to the center. So you're going to bring your right foot back onto the floor. Your left leg is still extended along the mat. And then you're going to place your right foot into the inseam of your left leg. So your right knee essentially is going to drop out towards the right-hand side. And then I want you to turn your head again and look towards your left elbow. So the lower part of your back is gently twisting off to that right side slightly. The upper part of the spine is gently twisting towards the left. So if you think about your left leg now, I want you to flex through your left foot. So push your left heel away, but draw your toes towards you. So as though you're lifting your left toes towards the crown of your head. A couple of big breaths into the body. Let's take a big breath in and a long breath out. Just repeating that again. Big breath in and a long breath out. Turn your head back to the center and then pick up your right leg and draw it back to the ceiling and then slip your right leg away from you. We're going to release the hands out of the back of the head for a moment. So lift your head up, place your head back onto the floor and just stretch your arms back up towards the ceiling and then cross the arms over your chest and reach your hands around to the opposite shoulder or even maybe your shoulder blades. Have a little rock through your upper back, just from side to side. So you're just working or rocking from one shoulder blade to the other, hugging those arms across that chest area. And then look what arm is on top. We're going to reach the arms up to the ceiling and then swap them over to the other side. So whatever one was on top will go underneath. And then again, just have a little rock across the back. So we're just working into that upper back region again. Chin is slightly down. Fantastic. We're going to bring the arms down by our side. Going to bend our knees, bring the feet onto the floor. And then walk your feet a little bit wider than the body. And then let your knees and thighs drop together. So again, we'll just take a couple of breaths here just to be in this pause position for a few moments. Just focusing on our breath. Just letting the lower back and that pelvic region just gently soften and release. Then what I'd like you to do is walk your feet back so they're more or less underneath your hips again. You're going to slide your right leg along the floor this time. We're going to interlace our hands, but as we interlace them, I want you to interlace them in the way that you would normally interlace them. And then I want you to shift all of the fingers backwards and forwards one notch. So you're interlacing them in a slightly unusual way, or it'll feel a bit unusual. And then bring the hands around the back of the head, elbows out to the side. Your left foot is going to be upon your right thigh. And again, we're going to do that gentle rolling action. So you bring the left knee out towards the left side. Your right buttock might even lift up off the floor a little bit as you do that. And then you're going to come and bring that left knee all the way over towards the right side. And you might end up just rolling onto that right hip. So we're just going to work back and forth, just inhaling and exhaling as we cross across the body with that left leg. Just working into the hip joint, working into the back of the pelvis, working into that deep sort of connective tissue around the lower back and the abdominal area. So doing one more of those crosses over the body with that left knee. And then we're going to bring that right leg back to the center. We're going to place the left foot on the floor. You might need to just adjust a little bit through the pelvis, just to maybe just pick it up and put it back down again. And then let the left knee drop out towards the left-hand side. The left sole of the foot is going to be in the right instep of your thigh. Flex through your right foot, so you're pushing your heel away, drawing your toes towards you. And then you're going to turn your head and look off towards the right-hand side. So just a couple of longer, deeper, fuller breaths here. Feeling how that feels through that left inner groin area, through that left hip area. And then when you feel ready, turn the head back to the center. Bring that left knee back towards the ceiling, left foot flat on the floor, and then bend your right leg and join your right leg to where your left foot is on the floor. Lift your head up and bring your arms down by your sides. Palms are going to be flat on the floor by the side of your body. So as you inhale, what I'd like you to do is push through your feet, lift both of the hips off the floor, and then you're going to send your right arm up and over the top of your head. And as you exhale, you're going to bring the right arm back down towards the side of the body as you float the hips back to the floor. So we're going to inhale, lift the hips and float the left arm up and over the top of the head. And as you exhale, bring that left arm back down to the floor as you bring the hips down. So swap to the right side again. So as we inhale, we lift the hips, float the right arm up and over the crown of the head. Exhale as you lower yourself back down. Inhale the left-hand side, so you lift the left arm up. As you lift the hips up, exhale as you lower down. Now we're going to do an opposite head turn to the arm. So you're going to lift your right arm up, but turn your head off towards the left-hand side as you lift the hips up. As you exhale, bring the head back to center. Right arm comes down, hips come down. Swap to the left side. So as you lift the left arm up, you turn the head away from that arm, look into the right side, and then exhale, bring everything back to where it started from. So again, I want you to just swap from side to side, rolling this head, lifting that arm from side to side, lifting the hips up and down. And we're working again across these sort of diagonals of the body, moving the body in different ways to ways that we would normally move it. Once you've done an equal amount on both sides, pause with the hips down and then hug your knees up in towards your body and have a little rock across your back. So we're going to rock all the way towards your right side as far as you can, and then come all the way over towards the left-hand side as far as you can. So we're almost getting to that point where we might collapse towards the floor, and then we're pulling ourselves back in the other way. There's quite a big sort of rock across the back. So we're going to do one more of these bridge positions. So come back to a neutral position. Bring both of your feet flat onto the floor. Bring both of the arms down, palms by your sides, flat on the floor. This time what we're going to do is as we inhale, we're going to lift the hips and we're going to lift both of the arms overhead. You're going to keep the arms overhead, and as you exhale, just lower the hips back to the floor. So this will give a little bit of traction through the upper back. Keep the arms overhead. We're going to lift the hips back up towards the sky again. And then as we exhale, you're going to float the arms and the hips back onto the floor. So as we inhale, we lift the hips up and you float both of those arms overhead. They stay overhead as you exhale and bring the hips back to the floor. You inhale and lift the hips as high as feels comfortable for you, back up to the ceiling. And then the arms and the hips come down to the earth. So again, just repeating that pattern a couple more times. Really feeling as you exhale and you lower the hips down with the arms overhead. There's this real kind of sense of kind of traction through the spine. Could be a really useful thing to do if you're feeling quite tight through the back. Let's do that one more time if that feels okay for you. This coordination of the breath, the movement of the body. Really lovely way to just start to work into some of those areas and parts of ourselves that can feel quite tight. Bring your right leg all the way up in towards your body. Stretch your left leg along the floor. But what I'd like you to do this time is let your heel hover off of the floor. So that left heel is going to hover. Point your left toe as far as you can away from you. We're going to take an inhalation here. As we exhale, swap the legs over, but you're going to point the right toes and try not to let the heel touch the floor. Take an in-breath. Exhale to swap them back again. In-breath. Exhale to swap them back. In-breath. Exhale to swap them back. Couple more times on your own, in your own way. So the hovering of the heels on the floor will really start to fire up through the abdominal area. Just challenges our bodies, challenges our balance a little bit, utilizes our stabilizing muscles in a way, again, that we don't tend to use that often. Fantastic. Brilliant. Hug both of the knees back up in towards your body. Hands on your knees. So right hand on right knee, left hand on left knee. Keep the big toes together, but do some circles around. So you're circling those knees around. And by doing this, taking each knee out to the side and then bringing it back to the center, a little bit like how you'd see a frog sort of swimming or doing breaststroke, that kind of movement. And then working in the other way. See if you can utilize your breath with an in-breath and an out-breath with the knees in a full circle. Fantastic. And then when you feel ready, bring the feet onto the floor. Again, walk the feet wider than the body. Bring the knees and the thighs so they just gently fall together. And this time, let's just rest our hands on that lower part of the abdomen. Let's take a big breath right down to the very base of our lungs. And a long, gentle breath out. Just repeating that a couple of times. And letting any tiredness, any tension that might be held in the body to just gently fall away. Brilliant. So when you feel ready, walk the feet back. So the feet are almost touching, thighs are almost touching. And then we're going to roll ourselves off towards one side. Doesn't really matter what side you go. And then push ourselves up and bring ourselves up into a 4-point kneeling position. So we've done quite a lot of work kind of around the lower back, around the shoulders. We're going to work a little bit more through the fronts of the thighs. So bringing ourselves into 4-point kneeling. As we come into our 4-point kneeling position, what I'd like you to actually do is just step back a little bit. So your toes are going to be just sort of towards the far end of your mat, and just bring your hands forward a little bit further than where we would normally be. And then what we're going to start to do is take our bottom down towards our heels, but it doesn't really matter if it touches, because we've took the arms forwards a little bit more. You might feel that creates a little bit more of a stretch through the upper back or the mid back. And then what we're going to do is push ourselves up to 4-point kneeling, which will feel slightly wider than normal, and then push our hips forwards. So we're going to come forwards into a gentle version of Cobra. We're going to push back, so draw the navel back, take the bottom back onto the heels. And then gently lift yourself up and then push the pelvis forwards. So we're going to incorporate our breath as we do this. So as we inhale, we're going to lift ourselves up. As we exhale, we're going to push our hips forwards. As we inhale, we're going to lift ourselves up and then exhale, bottom back towards the heels. So we inhale as we lift. Exhale as we push those hips forwards. Inhale to lift. Exhale to go back to the heels. So just a couple more times in your own way, just exploring how that feels to move through the back. We're moving from what is a forward fold, so child's pose, to this back bend that actually, by not letting the pelvis touch the floor, it's stretching a little bit more through the abdominal and the front of the thigh region. Just one more time. We're going to lift up, we're going to come forwards. And then what I'd like you to do is let yourself come down and lie on your front. So you're going to slide your forearms ahead of you, resting on your forearms, and separate your feet and your legs so they're a little bit wider than the edges of your mat. From this variation of a back bend, which is called the Sphinx, what I'd like you to do is just turn your gaze and look all the way over your right shoulder. Maybe see if you can look all the way back towards your right toes. Let's inhale and bring ourselves back to the center. Exhale, look all the way over your left shoulder. Inhale, come back to the center. Let's do that a little bit more. Maybe even leaning slightly into your left hip as you look over your right shoulder. And then inhale as you come back up to the center. And then leaning into your right hip as you look over the left shoulder. Inhale back to the center. Let's repeat that just one more time. So we just got a little bit more movement happening through the back, happening through the pelvis. Again, just moving the body in different ways to the ways that we would normally move it. Coming back up to our center point, we're going to walk our hands back either sides of our chest, push ourselves up, and I want you to come back into child's pose. So you're going to take the bottom back onto the heels. You might want to stack your forearms or stack your fists on top of each other to bring your head onto. Try and keep the arms forwards if possible. So we're just counterposing those back bends by coming into this child's pose. And then what I'd like you to do is gently push yourself up to 4-point kneeling. And then we're going to, we're going to take our hands just a little bit further forwards again. So again, we're just going to challenge ourselves a little bit in this balance. I want you to see if you can tuck your toes under and lift yourself up into a plank position. So I'm going to suggest, if you struggle with plank, put your feet together, push your heels away from you. You can certainly bring your knees down onto the floor if you need to, but you want your shoulders in alignment with your wrists. Keep pushing the floor away. Keep breathing. When you feel ready, I want you to push back to downward dog. So separate your feet, taking your feet as wide as your hips again. Your hands are as wide as your shoulders. Let's lift one heel up and push the other heel down. So we're just walking through the backs of the legs, walking on the spot. Let's see how it feels to just start to walk our feet towards our hands. So we're going to continue that kind of walking, lifting one heel up, pushing the other heel down, but we're just walking forwards. We're going to walk forwards as far as our bodies will allow, and then start to walk your way back. So you're walking back to downward dog, using those heels. So you're really pushing each of those heels down each time you step. Walk all the way back to our down dog. And then let's walk forwards again, walking all the way up towards our hands. Doesn't matter if we get to our hands or not, but we're just sort of heading in that direction. And then again, start to walk back.
to downward dog. Keep walking through those heels, stretching through those heels. Fantastic. And then we're going to bend our knees and come down onto our knees. As we come down onto the knees, you might want to put a little bit of padding underneath your knees. So we're going to do threading the needle from here. So I'd like you to slide your left hand across the mat that's almost directly in front of your nose. Then you're going to step your left knee back just to maybe like a sort of a foot's distance, maybe half a foot's distance. So what we're doing here is we're just kind of providing ourselves with a little bit more work to have to do. So we're making ourselves a little bit more wobbly. Then the right arm, you're going to stretch it out to the side, maybe reach it up to the ceiling. And then as we exhale, we're going to feed that right arm all the way underneath the left armpit and stretch it as far as you can away. Inhale, push into your left hand and bring that right arm out, stretch it out and stretch it up potentially. And exhale as you feed that right arm all the way underneath the left. So let's repeat that a few more times, working with our breath if possible. So we're working through this twisting action, working on the mid and upper part of our torso, but also what's happening because we step the hand and the leg in that slightly unusual place. Our stabilizing muscles around the abdomen, our sort of pelvic girdle area are really having to work quite hard to keep ourselves from falling over. So the next time you slip that right arm underneath that left arm, I want you to just pause there for a second. See how it feels to take the weight into that right shoulder and into the right side of your head. Your left hand, which is in front of you, see how it feels to lift it up and bring it onto your lower back, and then turn your gaze and look up towards that left shoulder, looking up towards the ceiling. So we've got quite a lot of our body weight going through that right-hand side of that shoulder and neck area. And by doing this, it might help to just release some tension that we might be holding around that right side of the neck, the right side of the jaw. So when you feel ready, that left hand that's potentially on your lower back, bring it back down in front of you. Doesn't really matter where you place it this time. Push into that left hand and draw yourself all the way back up. Your left leg's probably stepped back, so just step it forwards. And let's just spend a few moments just doing a bit of cow and cat movement, just to kind of bring a little bit of fluidity and movement. You might want to, rather than doing cat and cow, you might want to do a few circles around. So you might want to circle your head, circle your hips. You might find you want to have a little sway from side to side. You might find you want to sit all the way back into child's pose and just kind of stretch out the back in that way. So again, there isn't really a right or wrong with what we're going to do here. It's just what feels good for us. So when you feel ready, come back to our 4-point kneeling position. And this time our right hand is going to be the one that we slip across the mat. So it's in front of our nose. We're going to step our right knee back behind our left one. So your left arm this time is going to be the one that we stretch maybe out to the side. You might want to reach it up to the ceiling. And as you exhale, you're going to feed that left arm underneath that right armpit and stretch it away. Inhale as we come all the way back out, using that right hand to help with that lifting and twisting action. See if you can coordinate your breath. So you inhale to lift out and you exhale as you feed back into that thread in the needle. Just a couple more times before we take our pause and bring that weight onto that left shoulder. Let's do one more of those if you feel you've got it in you today. Brilliant. And then bringing that left shoulder down, bringing the weight of the body onto that left shoulder. Head is looking out towards that left hand. See how that feels here. If you maybe need to adjust that right hand a little bit, you might want to just shift the shoulder or even put something underneath the side of the head if that feels more comfortable for you. And then you're going to bring your right hand onto your lower back potentially and just do a slight roll of your head. So you end up gazing towards that right shoulder that's above you, maybe even up towards the ceiling, looking over towards that right-hand side. So as well as this being a twist, we're also in an inversion in this position as well, because our heart is slightly higher than our heads. So you'll probably notice your breathing feels a little bit different. The lungs are upside down, the heart's upside down, all the major organs are the wrong way up, other than our brain. So when you're full ready, bring that right hand back down, push into that right hand and lift yourself all the way up, coming up back into our 4-point kneeling position. Again, I'm just going to give you just a couple of moments just to kind of move the back, move the body in whatever way you need to, just kind of freeing up any tension or tightness that we might have created. Brilliant. And then what I'd like you to do is lift yourself up onto both of your knees. So you're in a high kneeling position. And then you're going to bring your right foot forwards towards the top end of your mat. Now, what we might find naturally we do is we step our right foot more towards the middle. I want you to actually step it out so it's a little bit wider. We're then going to bend our right knee and we're going to bring our hands either sides of our right foot. And the movement that we're going to do is actually we're going to move back. So we're going to walk our hands back. We're going to take our bottom in the direction of our left heel, but we're going to stretch our right leg away from ourselves. So we're going to walk forward, and as we inhale, we move forward into that lunge, pushing that right foot down. And as we exhale, we're going to move back, stretching through that right leg and bringing our bottom down towards our left heel. So just moving in and out a few times of that, just exploring how that movement feels. We're just working through the back of those legs a little bit more. So the next time you end up being forwards back into your lunge position, hands are going to be either side of your right foot. And I'd like you to tuck your left toes under and then push into your left foot and lift your left knee up and off of the floor. Push your left heel back, but lift your gaze so you're looking ahead. Imagine that you're in a starter's blocks of a race. And then what I'd like you to start to do is start to walk yourself towards the middle of your mat. So you're going to turn your left foot so it's parallel with the back end of your mat, and then walk your hands towards the center and then turn your right foot so all of your toes are facing towards the long edge of your mat. Let's bend our right knee and shift our way into the right foot, and then come back to the center and then shift the way into the left foot. So we're just going to shift from side to side, just exploring how that feels. So with this, by doing this movement, we're just stretching into the abductor muscles a little bit more, so the inner thigh muscles. Just one more shift to each side. Great. And then what I'd like you to do now is find your left foot. You're going to turn your left foot towards the thin edge of your mat and then start to walk yourselves around. So we end up in that lunge position and walk your left foot towards the left-hand side of your mat. So we're giving ourselves that little bit more space and then push into that right heel, go back into that starter's block, looking ahead. And then we're going to bring our right knee down onto the mat or onto any surface that we need to support that right knee. Again, we're going to start to do that process of moving forwards and backwards. So we inhale as we send the weight into that left foot more. And then we're going to walk ourselves back towards our right heel, stretching through that right leg. So as we inhale, we're going to walk forwards, maybe lift the gaze, look up as you do that. And exhale as you walk yourself back towards that right heel. So just a couple more times, just moving back and forth, just exploring how that feels through the hips, through the thighs. Fantastic. So when you feel ready, make your way forward to the top end of your mat again. We're going to come back into our starters blocks again. So you're going to tuck your right toes under, your back toes under, lift your right knee up, and then we're going to walk ourselves around towards the middle of our mats again. So all of our toes are facing towards the long edge of our mats. I want you to do a slight adjustment of your feet. Turn your heels so they're slightly outwards. Your toes are slightly inwards. That's it. And then we're going to walk either fingertips or hands on the floor. Walk forwards with your hands. So you'll probably walk off with your mat. And then push your hips back and look back between your legs. Look all the way back through your legs. Wide-legged downward dog position. See how that feels through the back of the legs. And if it's feeling really tight, bend the knees and take the pressure off of those legs. Okay, from here, we're going to walk our hands back onto our mats again. Come onto your fingertips and then see if you can heel and toe your feet all the way in. Keep walking them in. Keep walking them in till they're hip distance apart. And then let yourself just hang over your legs. So just let your head completely go. Have a little shake of the body. Have a little shake of the head. A little shake of the hips. A shake of the shoulders. And then we're going to gently roll ourselves all the way up to our standing position. Now, bearing in mind, we've kind of been upside down and moving back and forth a few times. So you might find you feel a bit hot, a little bit dizzy. So let's just take a moment just to stand, just to connect with our breath. So remember when we were lying on the floor and we placed our right foot into our left leg, we're going to do that again. They're going to shift your weight into your left leg. You're going to pick up your right foot this time and place it somewhere along your left leg. Then what I'd like you to do is, rather than having the hands around the back of the head, which is what we did before, let's reach the hands up towards the sky. So you might find the wider you take the arms, the easier this might start to be. You might actually find taking them really wide feels better for you, because it's a bit like being on a tightrope. Find your breath. If you need to wobble, bring your feet down, you can do. Reach your hands up to the ceiling. Bring the palms together and then draw them all the way down to the center of your chest. Step your right foot down. Shift the weight into the right foot. Pick up the left leg and place it somewhere along that right leg. Focus your gaze upon something ahead of you. You can keep the hands at the chest, or again, you might want to reach them up towards the sky. Coming into the tree position. Focus in the breath. Try not to let the eyes dart around too much. As soon as we start to do that, the mind will start to dart off. Fantastic. Bring the hands together above you and then bring the hands down to the center of the chest. Brilliant. Step the feet back onto the floor. What we're going to do, we're going to turn the feet outwards again. We're going to lift up onto our toes, and then we're going to bend our knees and we're going to come all the way down into a squat. So you're going to see if you can bring your hands onto your knees. You might be able to bring your hands onto the floor in front of you. Do that little bit of shifting from side to side again. So just shifting the weight to the left, to the right. We're going to come into another balance here, slightly different balance this time. Bring the hands back into prayer. Push the elbows into the inner thighs, but squeeze the inner thighs into the elbows. So you'll get a little bit of pressure through the hands, through the wrists, but keep squeezing those thighs together
Lift your chest and your gaze to look up slightly. So try not to round through the upper part of the back. Remember to breathe. It can feel a little bit intense sometimes. Fantastic. Bring the fingertips down. I want you to gently come and place your bottom on the floor. So it might involve you having to walk your feet out a little bit wider, but bring your bottom down and then stretch your legs out wide. You're going to place your left foot now into the inseam of your right thigh. So again, we're back in similar sort of position to where we've been a couple of times. Now your right hand is going to be on your right leg and you're going to slide down towards your right ankle. You might be able to hold your right toes. If this is feeling really intense through the back of that right leg, put something underneath it. So grab your bolster, Yvonne, you might find it's a bit easier to do that. And then you're going to lean in towards that right leg and take your left arm up and then see if you can stretch those left fingers over towards those right toes. Some of you might be able to make contact. Some of you might prefer to be in a much sort of wider position. Sometimes, although it can be nice to kind of make contact, it can also at the same time compress the body in some way. So just explore and just notice what feels right for you today. I'm going to suggest, rather than having that leg out, bring the feet together, and you could lean over in that way. So bring the right hand down, Yvonne. That's it, and then lean over towards. That's it. So you're still getting that side stretch. It's just taking the pressure off the back of the legs. That's it. Brilliant. So when you feel ready, we're going to bring ourselves all the way back up. We're going to keep our leg position. So whatever position that you're in, bring your right hand to your left knee and then bring your left hand back behind you. And we're just going to gently twist ourselves around, looking over towards our left shoulder. We go around. So when you feel ready, turn your head back towards the front, twist your body back to the front. We're going to repeat exactly the same thing on the opposite side. So you could bring your left leg out, your right leg in, or if you've got any pain or discomfort through the hips, you might prefer to sit in this position instead. But either way, you're going to be able to do the same things that we're doing with the upper body. So left hand is either going to come onto the floor, onto that leg, or reach towards the toes. Lean into that left side, and then you're drawing your right arm up and then reach it over the top of your head. So we're coming into this lateral stretch. So we're working into the ribs of the side body. Noticing how tight it might feel through that side body. Done lots of sort of movement to prepare ourselves to come into a couple of these longer and bigger stretches today. And then when you feel ready, we're going to draw ourselves back up to the center, and then we're going to twist ourselves over towards the right-hand side. So bring your left hand onto your right knee or your right thigh, slide your right hand back behind you and just twist yourself around so you're looking over towards that right shoulder. Try not to hunch the shoulders up too much. See if you can relax through the shoulders. Fantastic. So when you feel ready, we're going to turn ourselves back towards the front. Depending on where you've ended up on your mat, swing yourself around so your feet are going to be at the top end of your mat. Bending your knees. Draw the chin towards the chest. Hold onto your shins, back of thighs, or let your arms just be by your sides. And begin to roll yourself gently down towards the earth. Really taking your time, controlling
this movement, drawing the abdomen or abdominal muscles down and back as you release down to the floor. Stretch your legs along the mat. Stretch your arms over the top of your head. Get as long and as tall as you can through the body, from the toes all the way up to the fingertips. Again, by drawing the arms over the head and stretching the legs away, it just creates a little bit of traction through the spine. Takes us into a very, very mild back bend. And then bend the knees, bring the feet onto the floor. Again, walk the feet a little bit wider, drop the knees and the thighs together, bring the hands back down and rest them upon that lower part of the abdomen, elbows out to the side. Begin to turn your attention just to your breath now. And just for the next few moments, just observing the breath as it's coming and as it's going. Just allowing the movements that we've done, the different shapes that we've created with our body. Just allowing all of that tension, that effort to gently fall away. So whenever you feel appropriate, you might want to stay exactly where you are. You might want to move into a lying position, so you're completely flat. You might prefer to lie on your side. You might prefer to sit, but I want you to be in a comfortable position for about the next 10 to 12 minutes. Please do put any extra layers that you might need on to help you feel a bit more comfortable. Getting yourselves wherever you need to be today. So we're going to do a practice today that is very much involving some of our senses. And what I'd like you to do is just begin to let the body start to settle. Feeling the connection to the surfaces that are beneath you and the surfaces that are around you. Feeling that sense of the body being held. Of the body having this opportunity to be able to rest.
allowing the breath to find a pattern. That feels not too much effort for you. And what I'd like you to do is allow yourself to be aware of the sense of sound. I'd like you to be aware maybe of specific sounds that you can hear. So there might be sounds that are happening in the room, might be sounds that are happening outside. Maybe the sounds of cars or people. Maybe the sounds of animals or birds. And notice how each sound kind of has its own journey. There'll be a beginning to the sound, an end to the sound. And there will be sounds layered upon other sounds. Almost as though there's a whole tapestry of sound. Some sounds might be more consistent. And other sounds might just come and go. I'd like you to move back to the awareness of touch again. When we started this practice by being aware of the surfaces that were beneath us, but also allow yourself to be aware of the different connections that you're making with different materials, and maybe the clothing that you're wearing, maybe blankets that might be covering you. Maybe noticing your connection to the mat or the block, the bolster, the seat that you might be sitting upon. But also allow yourself to be aware of the sensation of the air that's all around you. Noticing if the air feels warm, if it feels cool, if the air feels still, whether there's movement through the air around you. Noting the sensation of the air and the environment against your skin. And again, noticing how the temperatures change, the movement of the air around you changes. And then I'd like you to turn your attention to the sensation of smell. And notice what you can smell in the room that you're in at this time. It might be familiar smells or less familiar smells. There might be strong smells or light smells. Maybe the smells are relating to something you might have put on your body, like a lotion or gel or a cream. Maybe there's a light, familiar smell of recent food that might have been cooked or things you've been around. But again, noticing how when you first detect a smell, it can feel quite strong. And then again, it kind of softens or weakens in its intensity. And again, you might notice different layers of smells or different variations of smell. Ultimately, what this practice is really useful for is just acknowledging how everything around us and within us continues to change. How we, as the observer, can acknowledge that change that's happening by being still, by being present, and noticing how we respond and we react to the change. So for those of you that are lying, I'd invite you now to just begin to gently start to allow yourself to move in any way that you feel you need to. And if you have been lying, I'd invite you to bring yourself up into a seat whenever you feel ready. I'd like you to sit up in an upright position. Again, closing the eyes or focusing the gaze towards something ahead of you. I'd like you to maybe reflect upon something that you feel is changing in your life at this time. Might be something to do with family, relationships, your health. Could be a change in circumstance. Could be the change in season. Just allow yourself some time just to reflect upon how you feel about that change, what it brings up for you, whether it brings up fear and worry and doubt, whether it brings up acceptance or relief. And what I'd like you to do is place your hands across the center of your chest or breast area. As an act of support for ourselves and a recognition that within every change that's happening, we're at the center of it, or we're part of it. And how, as change does occur, we can allow ourselves time to recognize how we're feeling, how we're responding and behaving, reacting to that change. And allowing ourselves to act from our hearts rather than so often when we react from our mind. So to close today's practice, as we always do, I'd invite you to bring your hands now into Amanjali Mudra. And we'll close the practice with one Om and 3 Shanti. So taking a breath in and a breath out. A breath in, ready to chant or listen. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bow your head towards your hands, just to acknowledge the care and the attention that we've given to ourselves today. and acknowledging to ourselves that change is inevitable, but how we react to it is our choice. Om Shanti. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Nice to be here with you all. You're welcome.
Not this stress. That's good to know. That's exactly what I needed to do. Thank you, everybody online.
Thanks very much. I might not be here next week, but I'll let you know on Sunday.
Oh, okay, Sarah. Just let me
All
know.
right.
I can always send you the recording if you'd like.
All right. Thanks very much. Take care. Have a good
Later.
week.
Bye.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks, Debbie.
Hope you're okay and have a good week.
I will do. Thanks ever so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Mum and Dad.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you,
Daniel,
See you
you let
later,
us
mate.
know. Let us know this afternoon.
Yeah, will do. See you later.
Okay, darling. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Good luck.